What if Quentin Tarantino directed Star Wars? Prepare to dive into 3 parallel timelines that are so dark, they would make that motherfucker Darth Vader nod, sweat, and whisper a Bible verse. Now, in the first timeline, we meet Luke Skywalker, fresh off learning that his family got wiped out. And this fellow gets on a path of vengeance. He teams up with the most dangerous bounty hunter on Tatooine, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Luke goes from a nobody to a Force Kung Fu Jedi master, and then he faces off against his own goddamn father.
Tell me, Papa, does your darkness come in extra crispy or just regular evil?
Fuck crispy, Luke. Darth chopped off his fucking hand to keep from talking shit. Now, timeline 2. Meet Han Solo and Chewbacca, who got into some trouble in the notorious Mos Eisley Cantina. Han owes money to the biggest bastards in the galaxy, alright? A weirdo named Greedo, who thinks he's immortal, reminds Han of his debt.
Listen, man, Jabba. You want money? How about the Millennium Falcon?
He bets his spaceship, the Millennium Falcon, to close his debt with against Greedo's little finger if Greedo'd ignite his laser lighter 10 times in a row. Let's say that could be a nice way to settle the conflict if only Chewie didn't have a bit of an extra temper. Finally, the third timeline, the darkest and quirkiest of all. Princess Leia finds herself caught in the perverse web of Darth Vader and the sick Palpatine. And boy, you don't want to know what the poor girl went through in captivity. She takes her chance to steal the Death Star plans and escape on Palpatine's weekly cinema routine. The old pervert is a big fan of Tatooine westerns, which he watches on 35mm film. Leia knows that film is flammable, so she makes some Death Star barbecue.
You can take your Death Star and stick it where the suns don't shine.
All 3 timelines collide in the most brutal and unexpected Tarantino way. Even Mia Wallace would overdose on adrenaline just watching it.
What if Quentin Tarantino directed Mandalorian? They say Mandalorians bring their targets warm or cold, but if you ask me, I always bring those motherfuckers a la Frigidaire. My job is simple. I meet a client, take a target, then find them, bag them, cash in, repeat. Galaxy's full of secrets, and I trade them for credits. One day I got a damn good offer. To find a 50-year-old alien asshole, blast his brains out, and roll in enough green to make the Emperor look broke.
This is the only goddamn way, boy. I've f***ing spoken.
But what seemed like an easy target turned out to be the deadliest creature of all. And you better be on good terms with it. Otherwise, every motherfucker in the galaxy wants Grog's powers. I am no different. The only thing I'm asking myself is next. Should I go for the money, the little fellow's Jedi superpower shit, or both? Because at the end of the day, in this galaxy, it's not the strongest or the richest that survive. No, it's the ones who know how to play the damn game. Mando out for his next chapter.
What if The Lord of the Rings was directed by Quentin Tarantino? The movie would begin with a prologue, narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, explaining the history of Middle-earth and the rings.
All right, listen up. This is the story of Middle-earth, a land that was once peaceful and prosperous, until one day some crazy motherfucker named Sauron decided to start some shit.
Then the story would cut to the Shire, where Bilbo disappears from his boring birthday party to have some fun with his lover, a hot hobbit lass. Bilbo is an old superstar in the town and female feet lover. Since his famous fantasy adventure with dwarves, trolls, and dragons, all the Shire girls dreamed of his private company.
Hey babe, wanna see my dragon?
Their conversation is interrupted by Gandalf, who breaks into the house screaming,
"What the hell were you thinking, Bilbo Baggins? You were the guest of honor at your own damn party, and you vanished like a fart in the wind."
Now the crazy 88 assassins named Nazguls are heading to the Shire to get the ring. Someone needs to bring the ring to a safe place, like Rivendell, immediately. Bilbo is too old for this, and Gandalf is a too powerful magician to deal with dangerous artifacts. Who's gonna help bring the ring, then? The camera cuts to Frodo and his friends, who are known for constantly smoking their pipes.
Shit! I don't know where Gandalf gets these herbs, but this is like the best thing in the whole Shire.
Now, the silly hobbits seem to be the only hope for the whole of Middle-earth. Gandalf finds the hobbits, gives Frodo the ring, and tells them to immediately run to Rivendell. Their journey would be fraught with danger, and the stakes would be high, as Frodo and his companions face off against hordes of orcs, giant spiders, and other deadly creatures. In Rivendell, they would encounter a cast of characters straight out of a spaghetti western, including Aragorn, a rugged gunslinger with a dark past, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who also narrates the film.
The king is back, and he's not taking any shit from anyone.
Legolas, played by Uma Thurman, and known for brutally killing thousands of orcs. Gimli, a tough-as-nails dwarf with a quick and deadly temper.
You mess with the beard, you get the axe. Not a warning, not a question. The axe.
and Boromir, who reveals himself to be a corrupted traitor at the end of the film, played by Christoph Waltz. As the group makes their way towards Mount Doom, where the ring can be destroyed, they must navigate treacherous terrain, evade deadly traps, and face off against a cast of colorful villains, including the twisted wizard Saruman and the evil Nazgul. Throughout the movie, there would be plenty of Tarantino-style action sequences, featuring intense shootouts, brutal hand-to-hand combat, and graphic violence. And of course, no Tarantino movie would be complete without plenty of snappy dialogue, quirky characters, and plenty of elves' feet. What if The Hobbit was directed by Quentin Tarantino? The film would open with a tense and atmospheric scene inside the lair of Smaug the dragon. He just awoke and spotted a group of 13 dwarves and a hobbit daring to steal gold in the heart of the mountain. Just when the gruesome action is about to begin, the film cuts back in time to the Shire, where Bilbo Baggins is having a raw conversation with Gandalf.
Listen up, you stubborn, pipe-smoking hobbit. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Get off your plump hobbit ass and embrace the chaos that awaits you.
Bilbo is the best thief in the Shire, which is why Gandalf calls him for a crazy heist mission to reclaim the dwarves' home and treasure from the dragon. Bilbo doesn't like that idea, and he hates dwarves with all his hobbit heart. But since he owes Gandalf a favor for serving him herbs, he has no other option but to join their dangerous trip.
Damn you, sly son of a bitch, Gandalf. I've had enough of those dwarves and their fart symphonies. I'll only go if they keep their rear ends under control.
And so their adventure starts. Each of the characters would have a code name, and not everyone will be happy with it.
Why am I Mr. Pink?
In Tarantino's version of the story, the gang would be in a gold rush. Everyone would be consumed by their greed, their actions driven by a thirst for wealth and power. Even sly Gandalf would be into dirty profit, outplaying the dwarves at the end of the day.
You want a wizard's help? Well, my magic comes at a price, and trust me, it's not going to be paid in shiny, happy thoughts.
Starring in the film, Leonardo DiCaprio, Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Bruce Dern, Michael Madsen, Uma Thurman, Steve Buscemi, Christoph Waltz, and Samuel L. Jackson as Smaug. The film would be filled with Tarantino's trademark violence, spaghetti western extreme close-ups, and sharp dialogue, as well as twists and turns that keep audiences on the edge of their seats. And of course, there would be no Tarantino film without plenty of female feet shots.
Man, I think I should write a book about it.
Hey, can you tell what the plot of the Harry Potter films would look like if it had been made by Quentin Tarantino?
The first film, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, would open with a gritty flashback sequence showing the murder of Harry's parents at the hands of Voldemort. The scene would be violent and intense, with plenty of blood and gore. From there, the story would pick up with Harry living with the Dursleys, but the tone would be much darker than in the original film. The Dursleys would be portrayed as abusive, and Harry's life would be a bleak, miserable existence. When Harry receives his letter from Hogwarts, he would be skeptical and distrustful of the magical world. He would have a hard time believing that there could be anything good in the world after the trauma he has experienced. However, once he arrives at Hogwarts and meets his fellow students, he begins to warm up to the idea of magic. The scenes at Hogwarts would be much more violent than in the original movie. The Quidditch match, for example, would be an intense, brutal competition with plenty of injuries and near-death experiences. The character of Hermione Granger may be portrayed as a fierce warrior and an equal match for Harry and Ron, with a focus on her intelligence and combat skills. Other key characters, such as Severus Snape and Albus Dumbledore, may have more morally ambiguous roles, with their motivations and loyalties constantly in question. The final confrontation with Voldemort would be a tense, bloody battle with plenty of casualties on both sides. Throughout the movie, Tarantino would play with non-linear storytelling, using flashbacks and flash-forwards to add depth and complexity to the narrative. The dialogue would be sharp and witty, with plenty of memorable one-liners. Like, for example, you know what they call a wand that can't cast spells? A stick. Accio, beer, now we're talking. You don't cast spells with your mouth, kid. You do it with your heart. I don't care how magical you are, you mess with the wrong wizard and you're gonna get a taste of the old Avada Kedavra. Overall, Tarantino's version of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone would be a dark, intense, and violent take on the story. While it might not be for everyone, it would certainly be an interesting and unique adaptation.
What if Quentin Tarantino directed Forrest Gump? The story would revolve around a slow-witted character played by Leonardo DiCaprio who would have some major differences from the original. First of all, he would have a rather violent nature.
Hi, my name is Forrest Gump. They called me idiot, dumbass, stupid as piece of and okay, I'm okay with that. But there's one thing nobody knew about me. I never fucking forgave anything.
And boy, Forrest had a temper. Since he was a kid, his mother knew he was different. She taught little Gump to not ever let anybody tell him that they are better than him.
Don't ever let anybody tell you that they are better than you, Forrest. Give them a reason to turn the other cheek and then smack that one too.
So whenever the kid heard anyone talking bullshit about him, he made him run. And not for goddamn chocolates. Second of all, the nature of Forrest's relationship with Lieutenant Dan, played by Samuel L. Jackson, would be quite different. In the trenches of Vietnam, Dan spots Forrest's raw talent for crime.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing, Gump. Just do what I say. If we both get through this hell, you'll be working for me, boy.
Back stateside, they're not just war vets. They're partners in crime. And the iconic Run, Forrest, Run line? Let's just say it has a whole new twist. Similarly, Forrest's relationship with Jenny takes an unexpected turn. Played by Melanie Laurent, she doesn't just break his heart, Jenny empties his pockets too. In a high-stakes twist, she runs off with the fortune Forrest and Dan stacked up. The vet's response? They trace Jenny and her hippie friends and introduce them to some of their darkest Vietnam flashbacks. Quentin Tarantino's take on Forrest Gump would be a dark, yet funny and cynical twist on the classic, filled with gruesome, violent scenes, a non-linear narrative, endless dialogues about shrimp burgers and perfect shoes, and chock full of references to spaghetti westerns that seemingly no one has watched except for Quentin.
Life's like a box of chocolates. Cross me and you might get the poisoned one. That's all I have to say about it.
What if Back to the Future had been directed by Quentin Tarantino? The film opens with a tense scene where Marty McFly witnesses the brutal murder of Doc Brown.
Oh shit.
Doc messed up with the wrong fellows, stealing uranium for his time machine. And now Marty saves himself and jumps back 200 years ago to the wild, wild west.
Didn't see that in the DeLorean's manual, Doc.
Marty's in despair. He was the coolest kid in LA, but here he had to be as quiet and invincible as possible.
I was the coolest kid in LA, but here I have to be as quiet and invisible as possible.
The DeLorean is damaged. Marty has no idea how to get back to the future, and he goes to the nearest saloon where things get really twisted. Here he meets the most beautiful women he could ever imagine, as well as the most dangerous thugs who immediately understand that Marty's not from this place.
Wow, you're as subtle as a fart in church. Who the hell are you, kid?
Well, Mr. Fashion Police, welcome the new sheriff in town.
That joke was stupid, and Marty realized it the next second he shut his mouth, but it was too late.
Now listen, you tell me who the hell you are right now, or I will cut off your goddamn ear.
And just before the bloody mess starts, the saloon's bartender says,
"Stay away from the kid, you motherfucker."
Doc?
Yes, that's Doc Brown. And before we figure out how he's alive, the film jumps in time forward, or backward, depending on how you look at it, to the moment when Doc was young and Marty didn't exist. Doc Brown invented the time machine a long time ago and used it not for the sake of science, but rather to fulfill his tiny little wishes.
Hot lasses, Wild West hunting, robbing banks. Oh, you betcha. Responsibility. Nah, I left that back in the 1800s.
And once, living his second life in the Wild West, Doc saw some local punks bullying a kid. Of course, he couldn't stay out of it. And let's just say not many made it from dusk till dawn in the Titty Twister Saloon. To his surprise, the kid claimed to know him from the future. But Doc refused to listen to anything about what's waiting ahead.
Future? Kid, I've already been there, done that, and got the time-traveling t-shirt. Now get your ass into the car and get lost in your whatever present.
With a heavy heart, Marty went away, leaving Doc a warning letter and hoping that one day he'd read it. What if Terminator 2 was directed by Quentin Tarantino? The film opens with a tragic scene. Sarah Connor loses custody of her son, and now she's locked up in a psychiatric hospital. Abused and humiliated by local medics, Sarah loses hope of warning her son about the impending Judgment Day.
You don't understand, you f***er. My son.
Then the film cuts to John Connor, who's running away from LA cops after stealing money from ATM.
Hasta la f***ing vista, baby.
Played by Leonardo DiCaprio, John is a local thug who despises his mother and escapes reality through gambling, stealing, and getting into violent fights. Until one day he encounters a brutal, unstoppable cop who terminates everything in his path. Engaged in a deadly cat-and-mouse game, John starts to believe that his mother wasn't crazy about robots from the future. Now he has a mission to survive and save his mother from the mental hospital. Typical of Tarantino, the narrative jumps back and forth in time, revealing the backstory of how two Terminators came to LA from the future. One of them wants to kill John, while the other wants to save him.
I need your threads, your kicks, and your chopper. Oh, and that big burger chip. Would you mind if I tried?
3 timelines, the one with John, the one with the Terminators, and the one with Sarah, interact in the most unexpected and bloody Tarantino way. Severely injured by the medics, Sarah escapes from the hospital and is finally reunited with her son. But at the same time, Sarah has to deal with the T-800 that she hates with all her heart.
Don't worry, sweetheart, I don't like you either.
You know what's your problem, Mr. T? You talk too much. So do me a favor, shut the fuck up.
Starring in the film, Uma Thurman as Sarah Connor, Leonardo DiCaprio as John Connor, Samuel L. Jackson as T-800, Tim Roth as T-1000, Michael Madsen as Peter Silberman, Jamie Foxx as Miles Dyson, and Quentin Tarantino as an abusive foot fetishist doctor.
I don't always act in my movies, but when I do, I try to have as much fun as possible, all right? Because why not? Life is f***ing short, so enjoy it.
What if Quentin Tarantino directed Home Alone? The movie would start with an action scene and then cut to a week before. Kevin McAllister is at home with his family who are having a party before their Christmas trip to Europe. Everyone seems happy except for Kevin. He hates his relatives, especially his abusive brother Buzz and his cousin Fuller, who pisses himself after drinking too much soda.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi, or I'll go medieval on your ass.
Kevin retreats to his room, where he wishes his family would disappear. And the next day after the party, the McAllisters head off to Europe, accidentally leaving him behind. At first, Kevin is thrilled to have the house to himself. He enjoys watching spaghetti westerns on TV and setting pranks on a burger delivery guy.
A lovely big kahuna burger, just for me.
Kevin also befriends a creepy man, a Vietnam veteran who scared him at first. This character is Tarantino's version of the old man Marley, played by Danny Trejo. He's rumored to be a psychopath, but eventually all the gossip about the veteran proves to be fake, except for his love for making deadly traps in his garage.
I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, kid, and most of them involve explosives.
But soon Kevin realizes that 2 sadistic robbers, Harry and Marv, have targeted his house for a big heist. Kevin quickly springs into action, setting up a series of elaborate traps to fend off the intruders.
You picked the wrong house, motherfuckers.
Meanwhile, Kevin's mother is rushing back home from Europe. Like in the original movie, she takes a flight back to the US and searches for a ride. Tarantino himself will play a traveling rock musician with a criminal past, who meets Kevin's desperate mother at a gas station and decides to help her. He steals a car and gives the woman a ride back home while they are chased by the police. Then the camera would cut to the brutal battle, with Kevin using crazy destructive traps to stop the bandits. Kevin will fight not only against Harry and Marv, but also against more criminals from their gang. Luckily, the Vietnam veteran comes to help Kevin protect his house.
Harry and Marv, huh? Sounds like a couple of poodle names. I'll take them down.
The massacre will be as violent and spectacular as Tarantino's best action scenes from Kill Bill and Django Unchained. And it will end with the scene we saw at the beginning, where Kevin put the final bullet into Marv. The veteran will barbecue Harry using his self-made flamethrower, similarly to how Rick Dalton did in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The film would end with Kevin standing in front of the house, covered in blood and sweat, as Kevin's mother arrives.
Jesus Christ, Kevin, you look like you just went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson.
What if Quentin Tarantino directed Ghostbusters? The story would revolve around a group of eccentric ghost hunters known as the Ghostbusters. Led by the charismatic Dr. Peter Venkman, the hunter's job is simple, yet messy. They receive a call from a client, go to their location, and use deadly weapons to clear the place from the supernatural.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. We've got a license to kick some motherfucking spectral ass.
However, their world is turned upside down during their mission at a video rental store. In a shocking twist, Ghostbusters leader Peter is brutally killed at the hands of the notorious ghost, Slimer. The loss of their friend sets the Ghostbusters on a path of revenge, which becomes the main theme of the Tarantino film. As the Ghostbusters continue their ghost hunting business, they receive a tip that Slimer is hiding in a notorious Mexican strip club, known as a haven for the otherworldly. Among the other creatures in the club resides the most evil and dangerous ghost in the world, Gozer. With proton guns loaded and silver katana swords at their sides, the Ghostbusters storm into the club, ready for a bloody and brutal showdown. Starring in the film, Bill Murray, Samuel L. Jackson, Walton Goggins, Michael Madsen, Uma Thurman, Salma Hayek, John Travolta.
Do you know what they call a stay-puffed marshmallow man in Paris? Le Grand Guimauve.
And Steve Buscemi as Slimer. Revenge is a dish best served with proton guns and katana swords in Tarantino's Ghostbusters. The film will be heavily packed with dark humor, vengeance, brutal fight scenes, and never-ending dialogues about cinema and Mexican burgers. Tarantino himself will have a cameo in the film, playing a psychopathic maniac in a strip club, where he drinks proton milkshake straight from Salma Hayek's feet.
Because why not? This is my movie. I do whatever the I want, all right?
What if The Exorcist was directed by Quentin Tarantino? A young and insanely popular actress is living her best life in her house in LA.
I'm a celebrity, bitches.
While her daughter is sick of it, literally. You might say she's got a head-spinning, carpet-pissing kind of sick. And no doctor in the whole damn Hollywood knows what the hell is wrong with the girl.
No doctor in the whole damn Hollywood knows what the hell is wrong with the girl, ma'am. Have you tried exorcism?
Yep, the desperate mother dialed up every single priest in LA. 88 to be exact.
You're gonna bark all day, little demon, or are you gonna bite?
And boy did she bite. Let's just say all 88 priests ended up pretty badly, like Tarantino style badly. But one day he came, the exorcist Father Marin.
I've stared into the abyss, and let me tell you, it blinked first.
And a terrifying battle began, and it was so dark that not even God could predict who would prevail. Starring in a film, Margot Robbie as Chris McNeil, Tim Roth as Dr. Klein, John Travolta as Father Karras, Michael Madsen as Lieutenant Kinderman, who's obsessed with movies, Julia Butters as Regan McNeil, who's possessed by demons, and Samuel L. Jackson as the Exorcist.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your possession? Well, there's this passage I got memorized, so it fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17.
Coming soon, only on Yellow Medusa channel. What if Game of Thrones were directed by Quentin Tarantino? The first episode would open with a trunk shot style of Jaime Lannister looking straight into the camera and saying,
"Things we do for this crazy thing called love, baby."
He has just pushed Bran out of a tower window to keep him quiet, as the boy had witnessed Jaime's affair with his twin sister and queen.
Well, that escalated quickly.
The fall of Bran Stark from that tower window wasn't just a fall, it was the tickling of a bomb fuse, a silent trigger for the bloody chaos that awaits Westeros.
And boy was it chaos. But as I like to say, when life gives you lemons, squeeze them into the eyes of your enemies.
The more the Lannisters' dirty secrets get revealed, the bloodier the escalation becomes. And at some point, the ticking bomb exploded with the brutal murder of King Robert Baratheon, and later, with the execution of Ned Stark.
Whoever the did this is gonna pay for it. I have a list, and let's just say it's not for Santa.
Prepare for violent redemptions, gallons of blood, never-ending dialogues about foot tortures, a barrage of explicit F-bombs, and signature crash zooms.
Yeah, those motherfuckers killed my father, who was not my real father, and I was a bastard and blah, blah, blah. But do you know what? Since Ned's white, I kind of figured it out myself.
Starring in the show, Samuel L. Jackson as Jon Snow, Leonardo DiCaprio as Jaime Lannister, Uma Thurman as Cersei Lannister, Christoph Waltz as Tyrion Lannister, Kurt Russell as Ned Stark, Bruce Willis as Stannis Baratheon, Steve Buscemi as Littlefinger, Michael Madsen as the Hound, and Pam Grier as Mother of Motherfucking Dragons.
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, and usually those who win are the ones with balls. Dragon balls.
What if Quentin Tarantino directed a James Bond movie? In brief, well, that would be freaking epic. In detail, put your ass in some comfort and meet me, Bond, James motherfucking Bond. I'm the best damn 007 agent you can ever come across, but trust me, you better hope you never do. I've got a license to kill, and boy, I ain't afraid to use it. Or should I say, overuse it? The first chapter throws you into the middle of a dark and twisted Tarantino scene. Me in captivity, where one perverted asshole named Le Chiffre is playing maracas with my family jewels.
You see, my friend, I never understood all these fancy methods of torture. It's the simplest thing, really. Like putting big heavy things into your—
Yo, bitch, I've got a little itch down there. Would you mind stop talking shit and do me a favor? Don't want to spoil how I got out, but just want you to know that Ma twins are made of tougher stuff than that sadistic bastard ever imagined. Still swinging and got a hell of a rhythm. Now, Chapter 2. Tarantino jumps back in time, where I live my best life sipping the smoothest martinis, shaken, not goddamn stirred, surrounded by the world's most beautiful married women you've ever seen. And their feet, of course. But here's where things get twisted. Some crazy motherfucker blows up my car with my girlfriend in it. And every trail, every clue, it all leads back to one place, Casino Royale. It's like the epicenter of all the madness. I'm going there, and this time, man, I'm bringing my own set of goddamn fireworks. Now here's that fellow Le Chiffre, organizing one of the biggest poker championships, and I couldn't ignore his invitation. But the truth is, Le Chiffre would never beat me in a fair contest, so he resorts to dirty play. Poison. And since this is a Quentin Tarantino film, Casino Royale goes a little overboard and turns into a blood and guts fondue. Jennifer Jason Leigh, Harvey Keitel, Margot Robbie, Michael Madsen, and Christopher Walken join me in this action-packed puzzle that can only be unraveled by watching the film until the very end. And if you thought you'd seen it all, just remember, Tarantino's imagination goes darker and deeper than Gimp's wildest fantasy. So fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride from start to finish.